breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome into the high school fan zone on this Monday night. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off because there's playoff baseball in Lubbock today. And I snuck out there to watch the first game of a doubleheader. Trinity Christian won the first game of their area round game with Hyde Park from Austin and just took an 8-4 lead when I got out of the car. So they are getting close to advancing to the 5A TAPS regional round. Could be against Midland Christian, could be against Grace Prep. They played both those teams in the recent they're in the same district with Midland Christian. So Lions are trying to move on under third-year coach Devin Rocha, who I think our first guest tonight knows a little bit. Mm-hmm. Mark Llanas, who I'm going to still call you Estacado coach for now.
Okay.
But I'll let you explain why I'm saying that. Whose team lost in the by-district round to Stephenville, and I sent him a meme at one point. But you guys were hard to kill, man.
Well, I appreciate that, but in the long run, I think we did it to ourselves in that third game.
It finally just ran out. We're going to talk a little bit about that third game, about some stuff that happened that I want you to explain, because I was listening, and I couldn't watch it, but I was listening on the radio. I was actually listening to the Stephenville broadcast, who remember the broadcaster in Angels in the outfield that was kind of full of himself?
Yeah.
That's the Stephenville guy. He kept everything was Estacado's lucky. At Stephenville wasn't catching any breaks, and I thought, at some point, buddy, don't you have to say Estacado's playing pretty well? That's why they're creating these breaks. But anyway, I digress. So that ended your season, and also, Mark, kind of, I assume this is fairly public knowledge now.
Yeah, it's very public. This was my last year coaching at Estacado High School. So we're wrapping up the career, and I'll still be at Estacado next year teaching and everything. So I won't leave Estacado. I don't think I can leave Estacado.
I understand that.
But in terms of coaching baseball, this is it. When
you texted me and it said retire, I chuckled a little bit because you're 47?
47, yes.
You're way too young. But I also understand because you have three little Llanas.
I do.
Or maybe one of them's not so little anymore.
No, if he's not taller than we're about the same size.
Is he middle school?
He's a middle schooler,
okay.
Yes.
So, and I think I texted you this. If not you, Chad Reynolds and I discussed it a little bit. So I know that doesn't hurt your feelings. I was telling him that I hated to see such a good guy not get to deal with him anymore, but I'll tell you the same thing I told him. I wasn't getting to see my daughters do their stuff when we lived in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. That's why I stepped away from covering LSU sports, because I was like, it's taking me way too much. I want to be a dad.
Yeah, that's really hard when you coach, especially when they play sports.
Sure.
It's time is few and far between going to practices or going to games or just missing, trying to get out there. It's hard, and it's one of those deals where we have high expectations at Estacado, and we don't want to cut corners. And to go to games, you'd have to cut corners, or to go to games, you'd have to maybe cut out here and there, and then just to make it easy, it's just at the end of the day, watching my kids play and going to all the robotics and UIL competitions, that'll be my job from here on out.
Because I know from my press box contact that your kids do all kinds of different things.
Oh, they do everything, yes.
My press box contact is Mark's dad, who I just call Mr. Llanas.
Yeah, there you go.
He's earned that. He's right in my dad's age range. So
okay.
He's Mr. to me.
There you go.
And your brother. So I guess the next question is who's going to run the press box?
We haven't got that far yet. We'll let the chips fall. Right now it's still a bunch. We still got to get stuff taken care of for baseball. So that's. I know I'm not coaching next year, but there's still a lot of things that I got to get done for whoever takes over, that they're in a good spot and they don't have to mess with too much. And they can just hit the ground running, because they're gonna have a really good team next year.
It's what I'm not sure people understand, that a coach, when a season ends, it doesn't just get off the bus and wave goodbye. There's a lot of stuff that happens once a season's finished.
Yeah, it is. Inventory. We're going to see, where kids are going to play in the summer. We're going to give them some options. We're still trying to get two or three kids out to play baseball that are seniors. We got to get look at schedules for underclassmen, freshmen, sophomores, some of the 8th graders coming in. We got to see if they're going to do football off season. So it's just one of those things to where, people just think baseball is baseball season, but it's literally all year round.
The one thing you have different than the others is you're not transitioning into something in the school year. You're going into the summer.
Yeah, we go into the summer, which can be problematic sometimes, but for the most part, we've been out there long enough to where the kids know what we expect and they know what their options are. So that's not as hard as it could be for some.
I'm going to say this right as we come into a break so I don't tug any heartstrings. You also have to get ready to say goodbye to those guys as their coach, and that's not going to be the easiest.
Yeah,
thing, so.
I had to tell them before the playoffs started, I didn't want anything to get out and hear it from a third party or somewhere else. So we had a big parent meeting, and we had all the parents there and all the kids, and we told them that Monday before playoffs started that this would be it. And I just, said, hey, can you just give me a little bit of time before this gets out? And then after it gets out, y'all can post whether you hated it or loved it. I don't care. But
I bet I know that where most of those will go. So we'll come back after this break and talk some more to still Estacado coach Mark Llanas.
Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. This is the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night on 100.7 The Score and Fox News Now. Sorry I didn't introduce that all earlier. I came in right at the buzzer, actually after the buzzer. So I had to scramble and get my stuff unpacked here. Mark Llanas is here in the Matador Fan Zone. He has announced that he is, I'll say the word even though it's awkward, retiring from coaching at the ripe old age of 47. He's still going to be teaching. He said he teaches AP World History and AVID at Estacado. And if you've paid any attention recently, the academic programs at Estacado are top-notch. I've got a daughter that goes to Lubbock High, and I know and Lubbock High deserves the reputation they've established, but every school in LISD has found a niche in what they do, and Estacado's right there with them. So and we just talked about this. It's besides wanting to spend time with your kids, that time teaching takes some. I didn't realize this until talking to Jill Schneider, until talking to Paul Page, two other really great coaches in the same cloth as Mark, that's something people don't understand is you're there to teach first, coach second. Now coaching goes hand in hand. So Matador season ended with a great Class 4A Division I best of 3 series in the by-district round. They lost to Stephenville 4-2 in the opener, beat Stephenville 3-2 in the second game, came back on Saturday afternoon, evening. Everybody else had kind of finished up for the weekend, and there's Estacado and Stephenville out there in the spotlight. Took 9 innings. Stephenville won 5-2. Unfortunately, Estacado had a lead in the 7th, and it got away from him. But there was a play after that. This is what I was asking him about. Stephenville had runners at first and third, and then listening to the radio guy, all of a sudden the runner from first took off towards right field.
Yes, he took off to a different version of a pickle play, first and third situation. He went out to maybe about 15, 20 feet behind second base, and the goal of that is to throw the ball to the second baseman and have that second baseman kind of walk that runner down, which frees up the runner at third to come home. I think the first time I saw that was in 2005. Denton Ryan did that to us, and we ended up giving up the run because we'd never seen that before. So that was something that, when Hector was coach, we practiced. We ran that play a couple times, and then we've seen it here and there. So that was we were surprised they ran it, but the kids handled it pretty well in terms of we've practiced that I think maybe twice this year. To where the kids knew what to do, and then like you said, that caused a 7-minute delay in action until the umpires came in.
Chicken at that point.
It is. We kept the ball at the mound, and it's just we just held it.
And it takes some discipline and some coaching to get them ready, because I'm going to assume the pitcher can't do anything. Weird.
You just have to. You have to. I guess just decide on the umpire when they want to kill that play, because when you see nothing's going to happen. They just call time, since we can't call time because the ball is in play.
It's not like basketball in four corners where you can run.
No,
the
we
clock.
we literally stood on the mound and held it for about 7 minutes. So they stopped it, and we resumed play. I think we got out of that jam, and we went out to play another inning.
And I was joking with you because I was listening to the radio guy, and he said at one point your catcher sat down on his behind, and I thought in my head immediately, that's not going to go over well.
No,
with his
he had
coaches.
to get up. I know it's not a traditional play, and it's nothing that you don't see that very much. But yeah, we still have to respect the game, and we still have to do everything right. So we got up, and he stood at the plate for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then they called time.
And to be clear, your catcher is one of your best players. So it's not like
He did a great job. He did a great job this weekend. So it wasn't anything that just, that isn't indicative of who he is.
And I don't think that the series was a great series. I'm going to guess that Stephenville wasn't. I think you guys were the underdog. You look at Stephenville's record. I'm going to guess that they probably took some lessons away from you guys playing them as tough as they did. And I'm happy for you. I'm proud for you that on your way out that you guys played that well and dang near had a chance to keep playing.
We talked about it. Those are probably the 3 best games we played all year.
There you go.
And we talked about that in practice, and we put some goals in place, and we achieved those goals. And we had an opportunity. We were down to 1 out in the top of the 7th, and we couldn't make 2 plays. And that's kind of been the MO for us a little bit this year, to where we struggled to make plays when we needed them, and it didn't kill us at that point, but down the road, if we would have made that play, then that one ground ball, we feel that one ground ball, then we have a trophy on our hands, but we didn't, and that's baseball. And
your guys gave everything they had.
They gave everything they got. They played great, you tip your hat, and then we got to move on.
Well, and Mark will move on. Will not be coaching next year. I didn't get the question in about. Well, I'll ask him that off the record here when we get done here. We're going to make the transition, switch over to Monterey softball in the Plainsman Fan Zone when we come back after this break.